Hello, it's Therese from Lostinpaper, and I'm back for Scrapbook Boutique, and I have a fun card using this Katzelkraft set called City Rats. And I know they're not going to be everybody's cup of tea, but I think they're fun and heaps of fun to colour and perfect for a masculine card design in my Cards for Men series. Alright, so I'm starting off with a piece of Kraft cardstock that I'm cutting down to fit the front of my card because I want to be doing some Prismacolor pencil colouring. Now, these are red rubber stamps and they don't come with any cling. So what I do is I use my tack and peel, and this block is permanently set up with the tack and peel adhered to it. It's cut the same size as the block, so it is hard to see. But what it does is it has a sticky side that you can adhere or temporarily adhere your rubber back stamps to, and they won't drop off when you go to stamp them. Another way that you can do this is to actually mount your stamps onto some like stamp mounting sheet, and that'll give you the foam sort of bounce as well, and it's adherent on one side and cling on the other. And another way you can do it is to use a removable adhesive, or just use a tiny bit of normal like dotted adhesive, and you can adhere your stamp to a block temporarily. I just have to make sure that you give your block a good clean if you use either of those two methods. Alright, so I did stamp this little mouse out. I thought he was hilarious with his arms sticking out. I stamped him out with some Onyx black ink, and I am doing some Prismacolor pencil colouring with sort of a more neutral tones. I was actually considered making this a really nice brightly coloured mouse. I thought that would be fun too, but I often colour critters. I find it really hard to go past the colours that they come in nature. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll colour it once in the colours I feel I should do it in, and then I'll come along and colour the image in the colours that I wanted to do it in. When I'm colouring with pencils on cardstock like this, what I do is actually lay down my colour really quite lightly. It might look like I'm adding the colour heavily, but I'm actually not putting a hard pressure on the pencil onto the cardstock. That way it doesn't kind of fill up the tooth of the paper, and I can keep adding quite a bit of colour as long as I do it fairly lightly and keep adding lots of light layers. You can shade lots of colours together. It works really, really well with the Prismacolor pencils. And I don't use any blending solutions. Usually on coloured cardstocks I find I don't need them. I want it to be fairly bold and stand out, and I just use the highlights. I'll often come in with the white pencil to add those, and for the shadows I'll come in with a black pencil. I find the coloured cardstock doesn't erase so well, so if you do get it wrong, probably best to erase earlier rather than later. And of course I'm going to list all the colours that I used today over at my blog, so the link will be in the description below if you want to find out the exact colours that I use. And I did decide to ground my image as well, and that's just simply adding some of the grey tones onto the base of the image. Alright, so now it's time to work on my sentiment, and it's a die cut word which says hugs. It's an MFT sentiment from Words for Friends, and I've die cut it a couple of times. So once with some fun foam and the second time in some black cardstock. So I did actually adhere some, you might have seen some double-sided tape, I'm starting to remember, to put this on my cardstock before I die cut out intricate designs. In particular, I find that it works really well there, rather than trying to add dots of glue everywhere. But then I can just pull away the release paper, and I did take away the centres or the letters and adhere those separately, so I've got that to use for another project if I want, and that just let me know exactly where I needed to adhere it. So I'm selectively stamping. This is a sentiment from MFT as well, from the Bitty Bears set, and I just want a portion of the sentiment, so I've used a little post-it note to cover up the sentiment that I didn't want to stamp, and I'm using my Onyx black again. Being a masculine design, I like to keep my card designs pretty simple. Often I like to use bold, bright colours or fun images. And I just thought that this needed a little bit of bright colour, so I'm adding a piece of, this is from the Knock on Wood paper pad from Lawn Fawn, and I just thought it'd be fun to add a bit of colour behind that die cut word. So now it's time to pop my card together, and I'm using my ATG adhesive and adding this whole panel to the front of my top fold card. And then all that's left to do is to add my die cut sentiment, and I simply added some score tape. I could use any adhesive here, liquid or ATG would have worked as well. And that's my finished card for today. Thanks so much for joining me. I've had a blast. I'll be back again real soon. Till next time, happy paper crafting. Bye.